Welcome back to Musical Connections. This is Next to Connect. I'm Zach Snow, and we'd like to welcome back to the podcast blues legend, punk legend, Mike Fisher. Welcome back to the podcast, buddy.
Well, thank you, and I'm honored with those titles.
Absolutely. Now, the last time we did this over the phone, but now we get to do this in this brand new studio here. So welcome to
I like it.
Musical Connection studio here.
That's awesome. Yeah, good work. So I feel I'm like the first one here doing this.
Well, the first one with a brand new decal on the office door.
Yeah.
But you're not the first one like here in this office. I've had many people before this.
Yeah, I'm not the guinea pig. Okay. All right.
Well, yeah. It's again, great to have you here. And I never met someone so eager wanting to be on this podcast. I mean, you've been pestering me with just trying to be on this podcast.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
Listen, you got a brand new album out. Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
absolutely amazing. Yeah. And first things first, how are things with you, Mike, when it comes to your life and your career?
Well, I don't know if you know, but my son passed away last year.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. It's been very difficult, and music has kept me going. And so the blues album is an extension of my just keeping busy every day, really. And do you want me to go into the detail of the album recording, or are you going to ask me more about?
Oh yeah, well we'll be talking about that later on.
Okay. So no, things are well though. You know, we're moving ahead and as best as we can be. So.
Yeah, for sure. Now, of course, while you're focusing mainly on the blues side of things these days, your roots come from the punk music scene. So I want to talk about that for a minute. What drew you to punk music in the first place?
Okay, so late 70s, I was in Toronto in a top 40 band, and that was kind of falling apart. I'd moved from St. John's up to Toronto, and I saw a lot of punk shows at the old gasworks and stuff, like Vile Tones and the Bowls and all that, and that's the time it was happening. So I came back to Newfoundland after the top 40 band imploded and met Rick Harbin, and we found a drummer, Terry Carter, and we said, this punk thing, there was only the Slime at the time doing anything, and they were kind of like more of a party thing, now and then we'll dress up like punks, and I said, well, we can try this a bit serious. And so that's how the reaction started. And with Terry Carter on drums, we did one record on the beach, and The Kids Arrived. And Kids Arrived took off, which is the B-side. And we recorded more, and then we changed drummers. We had Danny Ralph, and he was about 3 years. And the last going off, Steve Jackson came in. We were more of a technical thing, like kind of Euro beat at the time. And then that imploded, and I moved back to Ontario and been, bands.
Yeah, because on your press kit that you sent me there, it said one of the records that you mentioned, I forgot the name of it already, but that's really one of the most sought after 45 records
the On the
there.
Beach single. Yeah, On the Beach, Kids Arrived. Yeah, we did it through, I can't remember the company, World Records maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, how many copies of those were made, actually?
500.
Wow.
Yeah, and we we did one gig in the Blue Mountain in just outside of Avondale. The guy bought it and broke it right in front of our face.
Oh,
At the time,
jeez.
it's like, well, he paid for it. He can do it. But now it's like, only if he'd known how expensive they are.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you've played in the punk scene for many, many years. Prog rock you've played in, and also played in the blues scene. Yeah. So who are some of your influences when it comes to your musical tastes?
Well, I early on was kind of like early Black Sabbath and things like that. And then my dad was in the Air Force. Mom was from Carbonear. So I grew up in Trenton, Ontario, which is Ontario's really metal. And then we moved to Newfoundland in the early 70s. And that's when I was exposed to all the European music, like, Genesis, Fairport Convention, Pink Floyd, and all that. So prog rock became very big. Early Genesis, and Yes, of course. And but I always kind of had that metal undertone. And then that's where Hemmingwell started. You mentioned them in our pre-discussion. Yeah. And I met those guys in the mid-'70s. And we just did a lot of covers. And actually, when I came back in 2000, we reformed Hemmingwell, did 2 CDs. And that had the prog side to it. So that was after the reaction. And then that, I did a bit of trad work with Dungarvan, playing bass. And then I started to do solo albums just when the pandemic hit.
Yeah, and you've adopted that Psych-E-Punk moniker, and that's what you've been rolling with since 2020, since the pandemic really started.
Yeah, and I can use one thing is good for the band, like we can change members. A Psych-E-Punk band can be anybody, kind of like Jethro Tull, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's Mike Fisher and whatever.
Psych-E-Punk band.
Yeah. So you know, whoever comes in, Tom Rome was playing keyboards with us recently, and he'll be at our upcoming gig. And so, we don't have keyboards all the time, but you know, so anyone can come in, go out, whatever. So right now the core is Bob Davis on drums and Jeff White from Hemingwell on bass.
Wow.
Yeah. Now he used to play guitar in Hemingwell, but I said, no, you can play bass now, and I'll.
Rhythm or lead?
What's that?
Rhythm or lead?
Who? Jeff?
Jeff White.
Oh, lead mostly. We did a lot of Pink Floyd, and he copied Gilmour perfectly. So. Yeah, no, he's a very good guitar player.
So yeah, David Gilmour would be like a big inspiration for, you know, the sound that you guys were like trying to achieve, and especially like early Genesis. I would imagine Peter Gabriel.
Yes, that time period. Yeah, yeah, we were early Hemingwell was like just all over the map, and terrible time signatures and weird vocals, and so it didn't go anywhere.
Now, you've been in the music scene for well over 4 decades now,
Yeah.
and of course with this new chapter with the Psych-E-Punk band, you've played in many places all across the province, all across the country, and I would imagine all over the world too. So, what has been your favorite place to play, and why?
Well, right across the street from your office, right across from the courthouse, there was a bar called Martha's. And that was the spot in the early 80s and late 70s. 3 levels, and they'd have films, they'd have bands. And that's where the reaction kind of ended. Excuse me. We did 3 sold-out nights there.
Wow.
And it was always a good vibe whenever we went. And that's probably my favorite bar anywhere. Outside, we had a big following in the Old Shop, too, that area just outside Whitburn. For some reason, yeah. So that shore, you know, the dildo side was always really popular. That was a reaction.
Okay.
Hemingwell played everywhere. We didn't, you know, Gander. Never got to Corner Brook, though. There's another band, too, I didn't mention, was a band called Neon that came out of after the reaction ended. And my girlfriend at the time, Sandra Sandoval, was a singer. And we were kind of techno, and we did a rock opera with the LSPU Hall. And we did a 4-song EP release, too.
Okay.
That people like in Europe. Because we played St. Pierre, so somehow they heard about it there, and they...
Yeah, so it's sort of like Euro pop meets like ELO.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, yeah, so Neon didn't last that long either, but that was another one, another notch in the canon.
And it's another experience you get to live, too. So the Martha's Pub, what's that now? Is that Aaron's Pub?
No, it's nothing. It's law offices and something, yeah. I don't even know if there's anyone in there right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly when it closed. But yeah, probably mid-'80s, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't here then. So.
Yeah, for the most part now, you play places like the Black Sheep. You have a show at the Ship June 13th with your Psych-E-Punk band.
Yeah.
Is there any place to play today that you really enjoy?
Well, the Ship's always fun. It's such a legendary place, and you know, a lot of history. So we always have a good time there. That'll probably be the number one. Black Sheep is a little hit and miss, and excuse me, it's a nice bar too, but I kind of prefer the Ship. But don't tell.
We have this on record, though.
That's true. Yeah.
We do have this on record.
Every bar in St. John's is great to play. How about that?
But listen, everyone has their own personal taste, and I've been to the Ship a couple of times. I was there for a Barney Bentall show back in October of last year, and the place was packed and just overall absolutely amazing atmosphere.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely great to know. Like St. John's has a whole host of great venues. You got the Ship, you got the Rock House, the Black Sheep, you got O'Reilly's and Greensleeves. Yeah. I mean, take your pick on what you want.
I played in O'Reilly's of the trad stuff. Never played the Rock House though, which I'd like to one day. But yeah, in the Ship Pub, Wallace Hammond is a house sound man, ex-Slime member who he and I go back to 75, I guess.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
He's definitely someone I want to get on the podcast too.
Oh, Wallace would be awesome, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, of course, you have been mainly in the blues scene for a couple of years now, and probably at least to my knowledge, because I would imagine you've played blues long before you've taken on these solo records. So, what do you enjoy most about playing blues rock, and what drew you to it in the first place?
Well, it sort of started. I was playing bass in a band in Regina called the Toasters, and we did a lot of Steve Ray Vaughan and things like that. And it's a huge draw. in the prairies, the blues rock. So that's the only time I really played it prior. But it's always good to, I find it listening to it, it gets a little repetitive sometimes depending on the songwriting. So the reason I did the new release was a Christmas gift for a few people. And I had a time, I wanted to write 12 blues songs in 12 days. That's why it's called 12 Days of Blues. So what I do is every morning I wake up and put on like a drum box beat and just sort of get a verse and chorus. Put it aside, and the next day do that, and then go back and rewrite everything.
So that's where the inspiration for the 12 Days of Blues came from.
Yeah, and I want to do it for Christmas gift for people. So it was all done November in 2023. And then a lot of people liked it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I redid all the vocals in January this year and remixed everything and released it on streaming. So, and there are a couple of hard copies, but it's not released as a physical product. So I'm just working backwards, Started vinyl, then CD, and then streaming.
Well, really moving forwards in a way, because like vinyl was first, then there was CDs, and then there was streaming.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, vinyl is pretty much what everyone's going after right now.
I know.
When it comes to getting that piece of nostalgia for music, because it outsold CDs for the first time since 1987.
Yeah. I'd like to release it, hard copy, but finances are always an issue.
Oh, yeah.
If there's any record companies out there want
to... Finances are an issue for any musician out there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you've been playing blues for a very long time. And I think one of the big venues back in the day where blues was really a hotbed here in St. John's was the Fat Cat. And that's no longer in existence. So how do you feel about the blues circuit here in Newfoundland and Labrador? And what do you think can be done, make sure it's thriving? Because is it struggling? Is it thriving right now? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm Roger House came back, who's was a well-known blues guy here. The Fat Cat is now the Black Sheep. I don't think it's doing very well. It's more of a listening venue, and that's why we're doing the Ship on a Thursday. Tony Murray said, why don't you do Thursday night, 2 sets, start at 9. People come in and listen to. The weekends are for people going nuts.
Yeah,
and
pretty young crowd.
Younger bands, yeah.
Young crowd like myself.
Yeah, you young whippersnappers. But so I think we need kind of more of a proper venue, maybe the Salt House or something, because they have the jazz room and stuff. So there's not a lot of players out there. And now Dennis Parker's gone,
God rest his soul.
R.I.P., and he was amazing. So, I don't say it's thriving really, but... Maybe we can bring it back a bit.
Do you feel like there's not enough? Do you feel like there's not enough players around?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, traditional music is so popular; it's really hard to kind of get away from it if you're doing anything else.
Even the traditional side is starting to for me, there's not really enough bands out there now that are playing traditional music, or at least taking that front. Because, really on a headlining kind of stage, especially Rum Ragged to me are the closest thing that you can get when it comes to a headlining traditional Newfoundland act.
Yeah.
But aside from it, many other people from many other genres are really, advancing that style of music. So rock and pop and country is really starting to take off here in the province.
No, country's big everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't gone down that road yet. There's one song on the 12 Days of Blues called The Ballad of Rodney and Troy, 3-hour drive. And it's almost bordering on country. And that came from a real experience. Myself and Dave Bailey, Hemingway drummer, went to see Rush in Florida, and we were waiting in the parking lot, and this red pickup drove up beside us, and the doors opened, and beer cans came out. And the two brothers, Rodney and Troy, it was Troy's birthday. He was hammered. And so we had a big philosophical discussion about Canada versus U.S. and everything. It was all cool. And the Doors went in, and I never saw them after, right? So I sort of wrote a song about the experience. But it's almost country. It's just the way the vibe is.
This is a little bit off topic, though, but I just want to ask you, since you mentioned Canada versus the U.S., are you a hockey fan?
Yes.
So if there was a Olympics, because the NHL are going back to the Olympics in 2026.
Right.
If the Olympics started today and there was the hockey tournament, who would take it, Canada or the U.S.?
I'd say Canada would. It was always very close and hit and miss, especially with the women's hockey. That's really exciting, too.
Oh, I think with the women's hockey, Canada has that for sure. Yeah. But I think in men's hockey, I think the States got it because
they're getting better all the time.
Goaltending. There's not really that much goaltending on the side of the Canadians, though.
Yeah.
But you have Jake Ottinger, Connor Hellebuck, Thatcher Demko. You have Jeremy Swayman with Boston, take your pick on who USA can bring into the net.
I remember
there.
Connor here with the ice caps, and I'd walk by and he'd be bouncing 2 tennis balls off the wall to warm up. Yeah.
And he do his thing with his eyes where he's like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's good.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was seeing because the Maple Leaf new coach. I thought Ted Lasso would be good. Come to Canada, have a Canadian version of the show, and coaching a hockey team would be funny. So
oh yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, the 12 Days of Blues is your brand new record. We're gonna
Yep.
play Picture Frame right after this conversation here
Yep.
on the Musical Connections podcast. So, tell me a little bit more about the 12 Days of Blues, because of course you recorded 12 songs in 12 days.
Yep.
What do you remember most about recording this, and what are your favorite memories about recording it?
Well, the favorite memories were actually when I decided to remix it. I did a lot of download plugins for Logic program. So like the mixing desk from Abbey Road and all these wonderful toys.
Oh, wow.
You can get with, yeah. So mixing was the favorite part. And I took a long time to rejig, each section. And like the ideas came in 12 days, but the actual redoing, I took a month basically in January to make it sound good. So I think it's my best sounding record actually. So I kind of wish there was a hard copy, but maybe one day.
Yeah, that's saying something, because you recorded a lot of material over the course of your 4-decade career.
Yeah. So, but again, it's financing. So this really cost me nothing, just Logic upgrade, and I have it on my computer, so I could track everything in my place. And so the Psych-E-Punk band, we're going to have another recording with Matt Dines, Hurricane Music, because we got a little grant to do a song called Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Now, it's more of a rock, less blues format. So we're going to be doing that later in the summer.
So it's like a hard rock, not so much blues rock?
Yes. Yeah. Kind of like Tragically Hip a bit.
Okay.
Sorta. Yeah. I mean, that's the song I used to get the grant. And so I got to talk to Matt now. He doesn't know yet. We got the money, but he will soon.
He is. He has been a past guest of the Musical Connections podcast, and you're like one of many other clients that he has, because that dude don't stop.
No, I know. So we'll have to book his calendar now, because it's probably a few months away yet. So but I've been trying to hint, come on, take me under your management wing, guys. But they haven't got the hint.
Well,
yet.
that's David Shears' department, though.
That's Dave's, yeah. Well, Dave likes me too, but I think they almost have too many acts now, because they're pretty busy. So.
Oh yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
But guys, keep up the great work, and you keep up the great work yourself. Do you have a favorite song off this record?
Well, Picture Frame is basically about a rebuild a life when there's a change. So I hang a picture frame on the wall, nothing in it. The end of the song is optimistic because there's a new photo in there. I do like that, and the song Blues Me, the first track is really exciting, and the song called The Bog, which is very traditional blues. So it would give me an opportunity to really expand my guitar playing too. So I'd say Picture Frame is probably my favorite. It's getting the most traction.
Awesome. We're going to play that right after this conversation here.
Cool.
Now, who are some of the blues players that you take inspiration from to, create your sound?
There was a fellow, Roy Gallagher from Ireland, who's died in the early 90s, I believe. And he was an amazing guitar player, never really made it in the U.S., but he influenced the edge. And he was one of the exports of Irish music after Van Morrison. There was, the Van, there was Thin Lizzy, Horselips, Roy Gallagher, U2. He's good. Stevie Ray Vaughan, of course. Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin. So I'm watching all these guys, kind of learning licks and trying to get better.
Yeah, for sure. Now, of course, you have the show June 13th at the Ship with your band to celebrate the release of the 12 Days of Blues.
Yeah.
What else is next for you, Mike?
Well, the next day I'm doing a solo show in Carbonear at the Stone Jug. And like I say, we have this future recording coming. And no gigs lined up later in the summer, but that will change.
For sure. And for people who want to find out more about Mike Fisher, where you're going to be playing to next, and any new music you have on the horizon, where can they go?
Mike Fisher, Psych-E-Punk.com, my website, and all albums are available on streaming, Apple and Amazon and all that. And also, I have a Bandcamp. And when you type in Mike Fisher, there's about 3 or 4 religious dudes.
Oh my God.
So I'm there. So Mike Fisher, Bandcamp 1. Got all 3 records as well. So,
jeez. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Musical Connections podcast again. I think you're one of a few people that have been 2-time guests on this podcast.
No, thank you.
Maybe maybe you'll break the record next time and be a 3-time guest.
Well, I'll let you know.
Mike, thanks again for coming on Next to Connect. All the best to you, and congratulations again on the release of 12 Days of Blues.
Thanks, Zach, and thanks to you, and congrats on your awards.
Thank you.
All right.